Flight attendant tears up black girl's ticket, has no idea her father owns the airline. Imara sat waiting in the international airport's waiting area, gripping her plane ticket and passport tightly, her eyes scanning the bustling crowd around her. The loud sounds from conversations, hurried footsteps, and flight announcements over the PA system made the atmosphere bustling, but did not distract her. Instead, her mind wandered back to the lessons her father, Jonathan Coates, the owner of a major airline, had taught her over the years. Jonathan is a powerful man in the aviation industry, but what he teaches Imara is not about managing a company or financial success. He always emphasized spiritual values, humility, and kindness. No matter what position one holds in society, her father always said, "We must treat everyone fairly and with respect, from the servers to the passengers." Her father dedicated his entire life to building an empire in the aviation industry, but he always persistently conveyed to her that the core value of a person is not in the achievements or power they hold, but in how they treat those around them. However, as she sat in this vast airport, Imara couldn't help but feel a deep-seated anxiety in her heart. This is her first trip, a journey she decided to undertake alone, to prove that she can be independent and overcome the constraints her father had imposed on her throughout her life. For a long time, Imara always felt like she was living in the shadow of her successful father, who always cared for and protected her excessively. She loves her father and appreciates what he has done for the family, but sometimes she feels like she can't escape that overprotection. And now, with this trip, she wants to prove that she can stand on her own, make her own decisions, and overcome her fears. Imara's mind kept swirling with conflicting feelings. On one hand, she felt proud to have the opportunity to be independent, to step out of the shadow of her great father and to experience the world on her own. But on the other hand, she couldn't shake off the worries about the challenges she would have to face on this trip. She wondered if she could overcome the difficulties on her own, if she was strong enough to face unforeseen situations. And most importantly, can she uphold the family values her father taught her, especially in a challenging world where kindness and humility are sometimes not appreciated as they should be? These thoughts kept swirling in Amara's mind as she sat there, gripping the plane ticket tightly, feeling both excited and anxious. Her father's teachings still echoed in her mind, like a steadfast guide to keep her from losing her way. No matter what, you must always remember that humility and respect for others are the most important things. What you have today is not something you can be proud of yourself for, but rather something you have received from others. Those words remain like a lighthouse in her life, guiding her no matter how many difficulties she encounters. This trip is not just a vacation, but a challenge for Imara herself. It is an opportunity for her to prove that she can live by the values her father taught her, not out of obligation, but because she understands their importance. And although her heart was racing with excitement, Imara knew that this was the first step on the path she had chosen for herself. Even though the first steps were filled with fear and uncertainty, she was determined to continue, to understand herself and the world around her better. When Imara approached the check-in counter, the feeling of nervousness in her heart became more pronounced. She approached the counter with a slight smile, feeling proud of herself for taking charge of her first solo trip. She handed her plane ticket and passport to the staff behind the counter, hoping everything would go smoothly, just as she had imagined. However, as soon as she handed over the documents, the look in Gloria's eyes, the check-in agent, made her feel uneasy. Gloria was a middle-aged woman with a sharp appearance, straight black hair, and cold eyes. Imara could clearly sense the lack of goodwill in her gaze. Gloria did not hastily accept Imara's ticket, but instead stared intently at the plane ticket as if searching for a reason to refuse it. The first feeling in Imara was surprise. She didn't understand why Gloria treated her like that, but she tried not to let negative thoughts take over. But just a few seconds later, Imara began to sense the unfairness. Gloria began to mutter to herself, continuously scrutinizing the plane ticket as if searching for some inconsistency. "This ticket is fake," Gloria suddenly said with a cold and critical tone, causing Imara to startle. The young girl widened her eyes, unable to believe what she had just heard. What valid plane ticket do you have? Surely this ticket is not from our airline, Gloria continued without hesitation, as not even bothering to explain why. Imara felt her face heat up. She couldn't understand why Gloria could come to such a conclusion without any specific reason. Can you check my ticket again? This is an official ticket from the airline's website, Imara replied, trying to maintain a calm tone. But inside, her frustration was beginning to rise. However, Gloria's reaction was not pleasant at all. She didn't pay any attention to Imara's explanation. Instead, a surprising action took place. Gloria took Imara's ticket, said nothing, and tore it to shreds right in front of her, causing the atmosphere around them to suddenly become tense. The torn pieces of the ticket fell to the ground, while Imara stood frozen, unable to believe her eyes. People around the check-in counter began to stop and look at her. Their looks were not of sympathy, but of scrutiny and judgment. Imara felt as if she were standing in front of an invisible wall, unable to escape. The check-in counter is now suffocatingly silent, with only the distant sound of engines from far-off flights echoing back. A feeling of shame and anger overwhelmed her. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, but now she clearly felt that she was being treated unfairly, just because of her skin color. Imara wondered if she was being discriminated against, not only because she was a girl of color, but also because of Gloria's attitude. Although she tried to stay calm, that feeling of injustice was not easy to shake off. Each glance from those around her felt like a knife cutting into her heart. They looked at her as if she were a criminal, someone unworthy of respect. Imara tried to remain silent, but a strong wave of anger surged within her. She had prepared for this trip for so long, planned every detail, and now, just because of a stranger, everything had been destroyed in an instant. Please stop and check my ticket again. I can prove that this ticket is valid, Imara said, though her voice trembled slightly. She didn't want to argue, but she couldn't stand this injustice any longer. Gloria didn't care at all and continued with her indifferent attitude, as if Imara were just an annoyance she didn't want to pay attention to. You don't have a valid ticket. I told you your ticket is fake, Gloria replied, her tone unchanged. Her words were like daggers cutting into Imara's heart, making her feel even more humiliated. In that moment, Imara felt as if she were surrounded by discrimination, in a sense of not belonging. Indeed, she had come to the airport with the hope of independence, but now she felt that independence was not always easy, not always accepted. Chaotic thoughts began to flood her mind. Can I continue this journey? Am I strong enough to face difficulties like this? But in that moment, Imara remembered her father's teachings, Jonathan Coates. Her father had always taught her that no matter how difficult life may be, we must remain patient and never lose our dignity. Even if others may discriminate or treat her unfairly, she still has the right to uphold her own value. That is how she can face this world. With all her resilience, Imara took a deep breath and turned to look at Gloria. I demand to see your manager right now, she said, her voice steadier, no longer trembling as before. Imara knew that this fight was not just about the plane ticket, but about fairness, about standing up against discrimination. Imara took her phone out of her pocket, her hand trembling as she dialed her father's number, Jonathan. Everything around her seemed to vanish in that moment, leaving only her own ragged breaths and Gloria's look of utter disappointment. The chaotic feelings, from injustice to embarrassment, surged within her. Her eyes closed, but the words of Gloria still echoed in her heart. This ticket is fake. Imara felt as if she no longer had a place in this world, as if the entire world was against her for one single reason: her skin color. When the phone rang, the bell echoed in the quiet space of the check-in area. Imara tried to take a deep breath before answering the phone. When her father's familiar voice rang out, all feelings of anxiety seemed to subside. Dad, I can't take it anymore, Imara began, her voice choked with emotion. My whole life, I've always tried not to see myself as different, but today I feel like the whole world is against me. Jonathan, although not present, still maintained absolute calmness in his voice. Imara, my dear, please calm down. Tell me what happened. Imara recounted every detail, from Gloria looking at her with a cold gaze to the accusations and the act of tearing the ticket in front of her. She couldn't shake off the feelings of anger and embarrassment when recalling the scrutinizing gazes around her, the looks from those around her as if she were a stranger in her own space. Jonathan's voice was gentle but full of determination. You did the right thing by asking to meet with the manager. You won't have to face this alone. I will help you resolve it. You always have to remember that in every difficult situation, staying calm is the most important thing. No matter how challenging the situation, you must always remain steadfast. Imara listened to her father's words, but deep down, she couldn't calm her heart. The feeling of anger and resentment still lingered, but Jonathan's steady voice was like a lifebuoy in the turbulent waves. I know, Dad. But why do I feel like I can't do anything? Why do we have to endure such discrimination just because of our skin color? Jonathan didn't rush to answer immediately, but let Imara fully feel the emotions she was experiencing. After a moment, he said, Do you think that what you are going through is part of a greater journey that I once told you about? Life is never fair, but how you respond to it is what matters most. You may not be able to change everyone's mind, but you can change the way you perceive this world. Amara paused, silent for a moment, as if each word her father said was gradually sinking into her mind. Dad is right, she whispered. You need to learn how to be calmer, don't you? Jonathan smiled over the phone. Though he couldn't see it, he could sense the relief in Imara's voice. That's right, daughter. You cannot change the people around you, but you can change yourself. Calmness when facing injustice is the greatest strength you can have. No matter what happens, you must remember that you are never alone. Dad is always here with you, and we will solve every problem together. Imara felt her heart lighten a bit when she heard those comforting words. The feelings of embarrassment, anger, and disappointment began to gradually fade away. She understood that in difficult situations, calmness is the most important thing, not only helping her to handle the problem, but also maintaining her dignity. She learned from her father that life is never perfect, but how one faces it will shape the future. Thank you, Father, Imara said, her voice now full of determination. I will not let these things make me weak. I will solve this problem, and I won't let anyone make me feel inferior because of things that don't matter. Jonathan replied with a simple yet profound encouragement. Dad knows you can do it. You are strong, and you have everything you need to overcome this challenge. Just remember that even if the world out there may not be fair, you are always valuable, and that is something no one can take away from you. When the call ended, Imara felt a renewed strength rising within her. Her father's words were not just encouragement, but a reminder of her own worth. She knows that no matter how many challenges she faces in this life, she can still stand firm, maintain her dignity, and uphold her self-respect. Every next step she takes, whether small or large, will be taken with confidence in herself and in the unconditional support of her family. Imara looked towards the check-in counter, her gaze resolute. She knew that right now she was not only facing a small injustice, but also an opportunity to prove that she could stand firm and protect herself. The words her father taught her would be the guiding torch, helping her not to lose her way and to maintain her faith in justice. She took a deep breath, preparing to face the upcoming challenge, a challenge not only against others, but also an internal struggle to maintain composure and self-respect. An hour later, Jonathan Coates, with the steadfast demeanor and calmness of a man who has faced countless challenges in the aviation industry, stepped into the airport check-in area. Although the fluorescent lights in the airport highlighted his face, what caught everyone's attention the most was the majesty in his stride. Jonathan didn't need to shout or make a fuss. Each of his steps carried confidence and authority, as if everyone around automatically recognized that he was someone not to be underestimated. When he arrived at the check-in counter, Imara was standing there, gripping her handbag tightly, her eyes still a bit anxious. But when she saw her father, a fresh and powerful wave of energy began to fill her. Jonathan didn't say anything immediately, but turned to look at Gloria, the employee who had caused the incident. His gaze was cold, but not angry, just full of expectation. Gloria, after noticing Jonathan's presence, looked somewhat confused, but she tried to maintain an indifferent and unperturbed expression. Richard, Gloria's supervisor, also stepped forward, noticing the tense situation and appearing quite uncomfortable. Gloria, Jonathan began, his voice strong yet calm, I want you to explain your actions towards my daughter. Can you clarify why you have a clear suspicion towards Imara's plane ticket without any valid reason? Jonathan's question hung in the air, causing everyone around to feel the tension in the atmosphere. Gloria bowed her head, not daring to look directly at Jonathan, as if she already knew that she could not easily evade responsibility. She stammered, trying to explain but unable to find a reasonable justification for her actions. Actually, I just thought the ticket seemed invalid, Gloria started, but her voice wasn't confident enough. She continued, She's a new customer, and I just wanted to make sure everything is fine. Jonathan did not allow her to continue with those vague excuses. Do you know that your actions are not only discriminatory but also directly offensive to a passenger who has done nothing wrong? His voice did not change, still maintaining absolute calmness, but within it was an undeniable sternness. How could you come to such a conclusion based solely on skin color and a vague feeling? Gloria felt trapped by Jonathan's determination. She remained silent for a long time, her eyes blinking rapidly, unsure of how to handle the situation. Richard, her supervisor, stepped up, trying to intervene. Jonathan, I'm sorry about this incident, Richard said, his voice tense. We will review the situation and resolve it immediately. I will take Gloria with me and we will review the case together. However, Jonathan disagrees with Richard's handling of the situation. No, Richard. This is not a simple matter that can be overlooked. We are talking about clear discrimination, and this needs to be addressed immediately. He turned to look at Gloria without a hint of pity. You need to understand that injustice cannot be tolerated anywhere, especially in a large organization like this. Gloria hurriedly stepped back, seemingly unsure of how to face the criticism from someone as powerful as Jonathan. After a few seconds of silence, she finally spoke up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend her. I was just following my procedure. Jonathan did not allow her to evade responsibility. You cannot justify your actions by blaming the process. If a person working in this industry lacks the minimum respect for customers, then that person does not deserve to stand here. He turned back to look at Richard once more. I demand that this airline conduct an immediate investigation into this matter and take disciplinary action against the involved employees. I will not let this matter pass without resolution. Richard stood still for a moment, seemingly reluctant to confront Jonathan, but realizing that he had no choice. All right, Jonathan, Richard replied, his tone somewhat reluctant. We will investigate and ensure that this matter is handled fairly. Jonathan turned to Imara, looking at his daughter with a gentle yet proud gaze. Imara, you did the right thing. You should never have to endure this discrimination alone. No matter what, Dad is always here to protect you. Imara felt a wave of relief wash over her, as if the storm had passed, leaving behind a clear sky. Her father's words were like a lifebuoy in a stormy ocean. She looked up at Jonathan, her heart filled with gratitude and pride. Thank you, Father, she said, her voice gentle but firm. I know that I can rely on, he just smiled, not needing to say anything more. He knew that in this moment, Imara had learned an important lesson about fairness and how to face injustice, and that is why he always taught her to be resilient, to maintain her dignity no matter the challenges. The people around her, after witnessing this tense scene, gradually returned to their work, but Imara felt a significant change within her. She knew that she had overcome an important challenge, and no matter how much discrimination there was, she would never let it defeat her. She had her father by her side, and that was enough for her to move forward stronger than ever. After a period of internal investigation, the final results have finally been announced. Gloria was fired, and the airline officially apologized to Imara. They not only apologized for the discrimination and disrespectful attitude she had to endure, but also provided her with a first-class ticket to compensate for the inconvenience she had experienced. When she received the notification from the airline, Imara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Although this decision cannot erase all the pain she has endured, at least it is an acknowledgement that injustice cannot continue without condemnation. She looked at the first-class plane ticket that the airline had sent her, feeling the material compensation, but at the same time she also realized that what she had achieved was not just a privilege, but an affirmation that everyone has the right to be treated fairly. It was not just about her being granted a special service, but the recognition that no matter where she was, she deserved to be treated with at least minimal respect. However, in Amara's heart, that relief could not make her forget one important thing. Even though Gloria was fired and the company apologized, real change must start from the roots. She couldn't help but think of others who were facing similar discrimination without the opportunity to defend themselves like she did. This is not a story that ends with an apology or an investigation, but a reminder of the need to change the way people perceive and treat each other in society. A few days later, Imara and Jonathan sat down together, this time not in the tense atmosphere of the airport, but in the cozy space of the family living room, where the conversation was lighter, yet still profound. Jonathan, who always maintained calmness and reason in every situation, now looked at his daughter with eyes full of pride. "You did well, Imara," he began, his voice full of encouragement. "You stood up not only for yourself, but also for those who have no voice in such situations. But Father also wants you to understand something important. Justice is not just about compensation or punitive actions. Justice is a change from within, from the very roots." Imara listened to every word her father said, her thoughts beginning to connect again. "I understand, Dad. Indeed, the airline's apology and Gloria's firing gave me a sense of justice, but I also realize that these are just superficial measures. Real change must come from how society perceives discrimination, from the smallest actions in daily life." Jonathan nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "That's right. To truly change, you need to fight not only for yourself, but also for those who do not have the opportunity to be protected. Anyone can stand up against injustice, but not everyone can do it without someone standing behind them to support or without opportunities to create change." Imara felt the strength in her father's words. She felt as if she had received an important lesson, not only for herself, but for the entire world around her. "I will not be silent anymore, Father. If I see injustice, whether big or small, I will stand up, because it is not only about our own rights, but also about the rights of those who have no voice." Jonathan smiled, his eyes full of pride. "That's what your father expects from you. Calmness does not mean silence. Calmness is a way for you to understand the situation clearly and act appropriately. Not every injustice is easy to recognize, but if you can identify it and stand up at the right moment, you will help make this world a better place." Imara sat there, silent for a long time. She not only felt proud of herself for overcoming the challenge, but also felt a great responsibility. Responsibility is not just about facing the difficulties one encounters, but also about how to convey lessons of equality and justice to those around. In the following days, Imara began participating in community activities, sharing her story with others. She realized that every action, no matter how small, could create change. And as she stepped into the outside world with a strong belief in the values she had learned, she knew that these changes needed to continue, not only within herself, but also in the communities of which she was a part. After the tense incident at the airport, Imara realized that she could not let the issue stop at a personal resolution. She didn't want to simply accept an apology and compensation from the airline. She wanted to turn it into a bigger opportunity to create real change. The feeling that she could do more drove her to make an important decision. Imara decided to develop a training program on awareness and anti-discrimination, a program that not only serves personal interests, but also brings long-term value to the community and the working environment in the aviation industry. She recalled the friends and colleagues she had met at a leadership conference she had attended before. They are people who share a passion for improving the work environment and promoting social justice. Imara began reaching out to them, presenting her ideas and calling for support. She knew that to make this program successful, she needed help not only from people in the industry, but also from experts in human rights, training, and organizational development. Her goal is to build a comprehensive training program that not only focuses on theory, but also includes practical modules, vivid stories from those who have experienced discrimination, and interactive sessions that help employees view the issues from various perspectives. Imara is not alone on this journey. Jonathan, her father, with his influence and prestige in the aviation industry, quickly recognized the importance of this initiative and was ready to support it wholeheartedly. He understood that to change a large organization, especially in an industry like aviation, it not only requires intervention from outsiders, but also strong support from senior leaders. With Jonathan's help, they quickly convinced the airline's leadership of the importance of this training program. He created a solid foundation for Imara to implement her plan and provided the necessary resources to deploy the program. They set about developing a training program, ensuring that every aspect of discrimination is addressed. The program is not only limited to raising awareness of existing biases, but also focuses on changing the behavior and mindset of employees. An important part of the program is the real stories from employees and passengers who have experienced discrimination in the aviation industry. These stories will help create empathy and a deeper understanding of the impact of discrimination on people's lives and work. In addition, interactive sessions and practical exercises will help employees develop skills to effectively identify and address discriminatory situations. The program is implemented not only at the airline's headquarters, but also extended to all branches and related departments. Imara and Jonathan have worked tirelessly to ensure that every employee has the opportunity to participate and access this knowledge. They organized workshops, invited speakers who are experts on racism and human rights, and created discussion groups so that each individual could share and learn from one another. The results of the training program exceeded expectations. The airline's employees responded very positively, with many admitting that they had changed their perspective on discrimination issues and realized that they needed to act differently in their work and lives. Some employees shared that they were unaware of the discrimination they had caused in the past, and the training program helped them realize the importance of creating a fair and respectful work environment. Alongside the changes in awareness, employees' behavior has also begun to change significantly. They have learned how to identify and handle discriminatory situations, not only from customers, but also from colleagues. Some people also reported feeling more comfortable communicating with colleagues from different backgrounds, thanks to the lessons on respect and equality they have learned. Not only the staff, but also the passengers have noticed the difference in the airline service after the training program was implemented. Passengers who previously had less than smooth experiences due to discrimination or disrespect now feel welcomed and treated more fairly. Flight attendants, ground staff, and customer service officers all feel proud because their work environment has undergone a positive change, and they know they are an important part of creating a fair and respectful space for everyone. This change not only impacted the work environment within the airline, but also spread to other companies in the industry, where there is a growing focus on training employees in awareness and anti-discrimination. Imara noticed that, despite the initial difficulties, in the end, her and Jonathan's intervention helped change not just one company, but a part of the entire industry. The training program does not just stop at one organization, but continues to be maintained and developed. Imara has succeeded in creating a sustainable platform to combat discrimination in the aviation industry, and she feels proud of what she has accomplished. She realized that in a world full of challenges and injustices, the actions of each individual, no matter how small, can create significant changes. With her father's support, Imara not only changed the perception of workplace discrimination, but also learned a profound lesson about perseverance, courage, and the importance of standing up for justice. She knows that this journey of change is long and not easy, but she also believes that every step, no matter how small, will contribute to making the world fairer. Imara's story did not just stop at resolving a personal incident, but quickly became a great source of inspiration for the community. After the successful implementation of the training program on awareness and anti-discrimination, her story spread widely on social media platforms. The posts and videos sharing Imara's experiences, as well as the positive changes she and Jonathan brought to the airline, began to attract the attention of many people. Her words about facing discrimination and injustice touched the hearts of thousands, giving them more motivation to fight for justice and fairness. Imara's story is not just a call to action, but also a quintessential example of resilience and courage in standing up against discrimination. People on social media began sharing her story, from those in the aviation industry to individuals working in other fields. Anti-discrimination groups and organizations invited Imara to participate in discussions and workshops where she shared the valuable lessons she had learned throughout her difficult journey. Imara continuously inspires others to join the fight against discrimination, encouraging everyone to never remain silent when witnessing injustice. The lessons from Imara have touched not only those who are facing discrimination, but also those who have never experienced discrimination, but recognize the importance of fighting for a just society. Her story proves that an individual can create significant change if they are willing to stand up, speak out, and take action. Stories of discrimination, whether small or large, can be resolved if each person in society recognizes their responsibility in building an equal environment. With the rise of the Imara story, a wave of social change has begun to spread. People are no longer just talking about discrimination in general terms, but are starting to take real action. Companies, especially in the service industry, are beginning to become more aware of the importance of training their employees to create a work environment that respects diversity and equity. Some organizations have contacted Imara to seek assistance in implementing similar training programs, and she is ready to share the experiences and knowledge she has accumulated. Under Imara's leadership, community campaigns advocating for people's rights, fighting against discrimination, and promoting respect among ethnic groups have received strong participation from the community. She regularly organizes discussions, online workshops, and community events where people can share their stories, listen, and learn from each other. Imara wants to ensure that the lessons she has learned are not just a part of her personal story, but become a part of a larger movement promoting a fair and non-discriminatory society. In the following years, Imara became a familiar face in campaigns promoting human rights, especially in vulnerable communities. Her actions and determination not only changed the way people perceive discrimination, but also awakened in each individual a sense of responsibility towards society. Imara frequently shares on social media stories about initiatives and organizations striving against discrimination, encouraging people to participate and help each other. She knows that for real change to happen, it must come from the participation of each individual in the community. One of the notable outcomes from Imara's advocacy efforts is the change in how businesses and organizations perceive issues of diversity and equity. Surveys and studies on the work environment have shown that companies with training programs on awareness and anti-discrimination not only have a better work environment, but also achieve higher business results. Respect and equality in the workplace have created a creative space where everyone feels free to express themselves and contribute ideas. Imara realized that small changes, but with long-lasting impact, are the key to building a more equitable society. But in the process of striving for change, Imara does not forget that her work is still not finished. Each success, each positive feedback, each change in people's attitudes and behaviors is a step forward. However, she still knows that real change must be maintained and continuously developed. There will certainly be many challenges ahead, but Imara understood that there is no easy path. The important thing is to continue persevering, continue fighting, and most importantly, never give up on your goals. Imara wondered if she could continue fighting for this justice, for the right to be treated fairly for everyone for the rest of her life. And she realized that the answer was yes. Whether alone or in a group, she will never stop fighting for a society without discrimination, a society where each individual is respected and has equal opportunities for development. This trip of hers not only changed her life, but also had a profound impact on society, creating a new hope for a fairer world. Although she has come a long way, Imara understands that her story is just a small part of a bigger story. She is just one of the people standing up against discrimination, but her contributions have inspired many others to follow suit, making the world a fairer place. And with every action, whether small or large, Imara has proven that each individual can make a significant difference in building a better society for all. Imara not only won a personal battle, but also became a symbol of courage and perseverance. Her story conveys a powerful message about justice, courage, and resilience. Sometimes, to change the world, we must start with small, steadfast actions in every step we take. So, the story today has come to an end. Hope you had some relaxing and enjoyable moments with us. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other exciting stories. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos. Wishing you all a wonderful day.